EV charging vandalism has gotten really bad in a lot of places, particularly the United States and Australia recently. Also, Europe is facing this problem, but there is a really cool solution to this that a very smart company has come up with. But first, let's have a look at some of the numbers and what exactly has been going on. Why are people doing this? One single day. One day after this article was published across different news media sites all over the internet, we had another example of really bad vandalism of electric car chargers here in Australia. Yes, it happens in the United States. We know it does. But unfortunately, vandalism against EV chargers is growing in Australia because honestly, there's quite a lot of bogans, like you'd call them rednecks here in Australia, who hate electric cars. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Now, today, unfortunately, in fact, this morning, there's a major news article talking about how farmers in Australia are trying to block renewable energy projects because they believe that renewable energy is not a good idea. They say they're blocking them and they're stopping people from actually accessing renewable energy projects through blockades because they have decided from their own personal knowledge that nuclear and coal is better than renewables. So unfortunately, there's quite a lot of people like this in many countries around the world, and they decide from their own personal feelings if something is good or not. They think they know better. In addition to range anxiety, the lack of charging infrastructure and the prospect of queuing up to access a public DC fast charger, which sometimes a little slower than what they should be and sometimes occasionally don't work, Australian electric car owners now have a bit of a problem to deal with. EV charger cables are being severed, stolen, damaged in increasing numbers around the country by opportunistic thieves. Apparently, according to these news reports, on-sell the metal in the chargers themselves because of the cost of living crisis. Is it really true that people who go and cut these EV chargers up and sell the copper inside the cables are doing this because of a cost of living crisis? Now, of course, it's complete bullshit. These guys are usually drug addicts and they're, desperate for another hit. And so they do whatever it takes. Because the truth is, it's not, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, really. Let's be honest. Guys, do an hour of work. You're probably going to make more money than the amount of money you can sell the copper in these cables for. A couple of hours of work, that's all it's going to take you. So it doesn't really make sense that it's from the perspective of extremely valuable copper in the cables because there isn't actually that much of it. According to the AFR, the price of copper in Australia has increased by about 24% this year, following an increase of 29% in 2024. Now, I double checked that information. It's not quite correct, but yeah, copper prices have gone up. Copper recyclers are currently paying $9 to $10 per kilo for dirty copper and $10 to $13 per kilo for clean copper, tempting many people to cash in by stealing cables from public EV chargers. Now, I'd suspect that most people are doing this. They must be desperate. And it's not probably because they can't get a job and work, but I'm going to guess that often they don't want to. Public EV charging cable theft has been a big problem in the United States, in the UK, and in Europe. And two of these cases happened at different sites in Australia, in different states over the last week. And then unfortunately yesterday, another one happened as well. The cables of at least 4 ChargeFox rapid chargers at Cranbourne Shopping Centre east of Melbourne was stolen this week, according to a post on the Electric Vehicles for Australia Facebook page. So, guys, I actually used to go to Cranbourne quite often because there's a BMX track there where both of my boys, their first race they did at this track, it's got a crazy start hill, and they went down this BMX track in a race, and they both had massive crashes, just terrible crashes. It was so stressful watching it. Anyway, so that's what I'm reminded of Cranbourne because that's where, my mental health was challenged on the same day with some crazy accidents. And they're not the only ones. It's a bit of a crazy BMX track there. Anyway, getting this story, ABC Radio Adelaide yesterday reported that 6 Tesla superchargers were vandalised for the same reason in a Norwood shopping centre in the South Australian capital. So EV users couldn't use the cables. The problem is getting worse, though, in Victoria, where theft from motor vehicles and motor vehicle theft has surged by nearly 40 to 50% in the last 12 months. Yeah, it's been a crime wave in Melbourne. Since I left Melbourne, crime has appeared to have increased pretty significantly. Better lighting, the installation of CCTV cameras and alarms, and the use of aluminium cables for public EV chargers have all been tactics used to try and stop this issue. But infrastructure providers are coming up with other solutions. Finnish fast charger company Kempower has developed a protective sleeve called Cable Guard, which covers existing cables and acts as a deterrent by making them much more difficult to cut. Now, another solution has been created by a company called Catstrap, which has a range of cable guards and also offers an exploding dye add-on called Dye Defender, which sprays blue dye on thieves when it is cut, making them easier to identify. And obviously the thieves don't really want to be covered in blue dye. I love this idea. This reminds me of Mark Rober and his glitter bomb. You know, when the porch pirates in the United States and also in Australia, and people come and steal your stuff on your porch when it gets delivered. And glitter bombs are a great idea because people go and try and steal a package, and then they discover when they open it that it's a glitter bomb, and the bomb explodes and the glitter goes all over them. It's just brilliant. Mark Rober, if you haven't seen that, great video. Sounds similar to that, right? Cut in the cable and you get sprayed with blue ink. These things on Tesla chargers, Tesla puts a sign that says pressurized, do not cut. Yeah, obviously thieves have been ignoring that sign. In July 2024, Automotive News reported 129 charging cables were stolen from Electrify America charging stations across the United States in the first 5 months of last year, more than in the entire 2023 calendar year combined. Electrify America, of course, is one of the largest EV charging stations in the US, and apparently the cables are quite expensive to repair. They cost between US $2,000 to $4,000 each. That's a lot of money. The US state of Washington has become a hotspot for theft of copper from charging cables, with 89 cables cut from Electrify America's locations in a pretty short period of time. From January the 1st to July the 11th in 2024, there was 89 cables cut in one state. This is just out of control, isn't it? EV charging cable theft is pretty common in southern US states as well, such as Texas and Tennessee, says car expert. And until now, the practice hasn't, been all that common in Australia. I personally have I've never rocked up to an EV charger in Australia and seen the charging cable was cut. So it appears as though people are getting pretty desperate. We see very, very little vandalism, and copper theft is almost non-existent, said John Sullivan, the CEO of ChargeFox, one of the largest EV charging networks in Australia. However, studies have shown Australians already have reservations about EVs, about worrying about, EV chargers not working, or worrying about finding EV chargers that work. And it's one of the big kind of emotional reasons that a lot of people don't buy an EV here in Australia. Because in Australia, the EVs here are very cheap. I mean, you can get electric cars that are cheaper than an equivalent internal combustion car. Not in all market segments, not in the pickup truck segment, but in mid-size, small electric SUVs, you can get an EV cheaper, which is a better car. And yet a lot of people don't buy them. A lot of people are kind of afraid of them. And they're afraid of them not really for logical reasons. It's more of an emotional thing. They don't like change. So anyway, change is happening. And the one thing about change, I said to my boys the other day, the only thing about change is it never stops. Things never stop changing. So if you try to avoid change and you hate change, and I know a few people personally who are very much like this, life is very difficult and stressful. And it's kind of difficult and stressful if people go and cut these EV chargers for a pretty small payout. You're not going to get a whole lot of money from cutting these charging cables. My suggestion to these guys, these kind of losers, is get a job. It's a better return on investment. Anyway, what do you guys think? Thanks for watching.